Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's me, Eden, again. Sorry about my shitty microphone. I'm using a Razer Kraken 7.1 headset microphone. I don't have the money to spend on something as fancy as $300, $400 microphones. Obviously, I'm not a big, huge YouTuber celebrity. I'm just your casual dude that's out there putting some YouTubes here and there, So I don't claim to be a professional, nor am I a professional YouTuber, but this is something I do for fun. And I came across this article about 4K movies. There's a big debate about the 4K Blu-ray Ultra HD movies. You've probably seen some of that on Review Tech USA, and you've seen some of that on Killer 1316. He's a very good friend of mine, Joe channel, and I have to agree with him on what he said about 4K, and I'll get into that later on. The reason I say there has been a debate, it's because there's still some people out there that are on the fence about whether or not they should invest into 4K and Ultra HD Blu-ray 4K. And I'll give you my honest opinion. I'm not going to tell you, okay, I have all the answers. I'm not going to tell you go ahead and buy it, nor am I going to tell you don't go ahead and buy it. I'm just going to tell you exactly my opinion. And keep in mind, this is just an opinion from some guy that's a very poor guy living in a little shitty apartment. So don't take everything for granted that I say. This is just one person's opinion, and you can take it or leave it or shove it up somewhere. I don't care what you do with it. This is my opinion. I'm entitled to it. You don't have to agree to it. You can shit on it if you want. I don't care. But this is just my opinion. All right, so let's put that outside since I already got that out of the way so you guys know. Let's move on to 4K UHD. As you can see, I'm looking at the Martian right here, and it's pretty reasonable price. It's $27 plus tax. It's $30. All of these Blu-rays, 4K Ultra HDs, are going to be $30. Now, I have no problem with that price. I'm okay with that price. To me, that's fine. I have no problem. Uh, and you can see there's a bunch of other 4K movies coming out. There's The Kingsman, The Secret Service. Uh, you got Exodus, Gods and Kings, which is $39, surprisingly. Wow. Then you got X-Men, Days of the Future, $27. So the prices varies. Some are 30, some are 35. It's still expensive. I mean, not cheap by any means necessary. Uh, Now let's talk about the pros and cons about the 4K UHD. Granted, 4K TVs are still expensive. They're not that uh, cheap either. If you're lucky, you might get the VZO for like $800, $900. It's in about affordable price range. If you want to get something better with like better coloring and more vivid images, much darker, blacker screen, then I recommend go with SUHD Samsung. But you don't necessarily have to go that far. You can go and buy something at a lower end that still is going to produce 4K resolution, but it's not going to look as cool as, for example, SUHD Samsung. So 4K TVs are they're not cheap by any means, but they're within affordable price range. Now, let's talk about the big elephant in the room. This is the main reason that some people are being a little bit skeptical about 4K UHD, and they say, well, 4K Blu-rays, they're going to need this Blu-ray player that's $400. Well, yeah, you're going to need a Blu-ray player hardware to encode HDR, to encode all that detail and data and send it to your 4K monitor, your TV. It's going to need that to decode that. You can't just use your regular Blu-ray player because the regular Blu-ray player, it's not encoded to transfer all that detail and image and data. So the first party Blu-rays are going to be expensive, just like they did in 12 years ago when Blu-rays got released, and Blu-rays were really expensive. They're like the same price, $300, $400. So the first party Blu-rays are going to be expensive on a 4K. That doesn't mean that it's always going to be $400. Depending on how well it does, we might see down the road by the end of this year, see some third-party 4K Blu-ray players being released for like 250, 200, 150. So we might see some different price ranges here and there, depending on how well it does. But that shouldn't stop you from considering to buy 4K uh, movies. I have a 4K TV. I have a Vizio M-Class 4K TV, 55 inch, and I gotta tell you, so far what I have seen on Netflix and Amazon, some of the movies that I rented, like Total Recall and Chappie and a bunch of other ones, I gotta tell you, the HDR color. I don't know if you guys know what the HDR means. It's a high fidelity digital resolution coloring. What it does, it enhances all the colors, all the details on 4K. So when you're watching a movie, the colors that you didn't see in the movie theater are gonna pop up on your screen. Like you're gonna see everything more vividly. All the colors are gonna be natural colors, the way it was intended to be. Everything's gonna look lifelike on HDR. You know, so that's what HDR really is. It's a very vivid coloring that's gonna pop up that you're gonna be able to see, and it's just gonna make movies look much better. Everything's gonna look better, man. More lifelike. Not to mention the high detail resolution you're going to be having on that screen. You have to think about the real estate you're going to have on the 4K TV. So, should you upgrade from 1080p to 4K? Absolutely. Anything will look better on 4K because you have more real estate, more detail available for you. But you also have to be educated about 4K. If you buy a 4K TV set that's like 40 inches, you're not gonna really enjoy that much of detail because 4K was meant for bigger TVs because it has a higher pixels, higher resolution, more real estate, which means you would need something that's 55 or 60 to 65 inch. I would say go with a 65 inch just to get that clarity and resolution so you can see all that detail. Now, if you can break the bank and go for like 70 inch, there, yeah, with a 70 inch, you're gonna really enjoy that high detail resolution. So you have to do your research, guys. About the 4K. You have to understand the resolutions and what it means. You know, most people they have 1080p, and 1080p it's fine if you're running a 47 inch or 38 inch or 50 inch. You'll be okay with 1080p, but when you move up to 4K, you're moving into a higher detail, higher resolution. So there, you are going to need a bigger screen to fill up all that detail. So that's the first step. You got to have a really good TV. And I would recommend you guys get yourself anywhere between 55 to 65 inch. 60 will do it. Honestly, 60 inch will get the job done for 4K. That's fine. And but anything below 60, like 50 to 47, forget it. You gotta have at least 60 to 65 inch just to get that detail on there. Now the second thing, 4K UHD Blu-ray movies. Should you buy it? Well, yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you want to buy it? Why wouldn't you want to enjoy the movies? Uh, like The Martian or X-Men or Kingsman or Life of Pi or Cesario or Hancock and all the other Blu-ray movies that are available right now. Why wouldn't you want to, like The Martian, why wouldn't you want to enjoy this movie and enjoy the clarity and everything in it that comes with? Why wouldn't you want to do that? You know? So, yeah, I mean, of course, I highly recommend that you go ahead and get the 4K Blu-rays and Blu-ray movies and 4K Blu-ray player, but you got to do your research. You have to go ahead Do your research on the TV. Like I said, you need a bigger TV to enjoy that real estate in detail information that's being put from 4K. Okay? You need that. You need that big screen to fill up that real estate. All right? You need that. That's step number one. So we're clear on that. Step number two, you need a source to fill up that screen. The source, perfect source would be 4K Ultra HD, because with 4K Ultra HD physical disc, you're getting an instant native HDR 4K 3840 by 2160 resolution filling up that screen. When you're streaming it, you might be losing a little bit depending on your connection. So I recommend getting a 4K because everything will look much better in 4K. Why would you want to settle for 1080p? When you can enjoy much better clarity, much better detail on your favorite movies. And not only that, not only is your image going to improve and you'll be able to see certain things you never saw before in the movie, but your quality audio is going to improve much better too because of the higher detail, that real estate, like Dolby Atmos. You'll be able to enjoy surround sound speakers coming up from above you, down below you, all over the freaking place. Everything will be much better. The clarity will be, everything will be much more immersive, man. When you're watching a 4K movie, everything will be much more immersive. And why wouldn't you want to immerse yourself into your favorite movies? Why not? So my opinion is that 4K will replace 1080p Blu-rays. 4K will do for Blu-rays what Blu-rays did back in 2007 when there was that war between high definition DVDs and Blu-ray format. And Blu-ray won because it was much better. There was more space on there and they won. So I think that 4K will become a standard and it will replace 1080p and that will be the new standard. I honestly believe that 4K Blu-ray UHD will be the new standard. And I also firmly believe that 4K will become a new standard in our households, in our homes. But it's not going to happen quick. It's going to take some time. I think probably by 2018 or by 2020, I'm being fair, 2020, we'll see 4K become true standard, which means all your cable movies and everything, cable channels will be 4K. Everything will be 4K because now they're rolling out with this 1 gigabyte internet connections. So once they roll out the 1 gigabyte Ethernet connection, and everyone will be able to access that 1 gigabyte gigapower internet connection, that means that everyone will be able to watch all their channels on 4K because all that data will be more than enough to stream 4K channels. So 4K, it's coming and it's here to stay whether you like it or not. 4K is going to advance and it will become a standard, just like 1080p did 10 years ago, or whatever, 12 years ago, 2006 or 2007, whatever the hell it was. Anyway, so that's my opinion, 4K. Should you get it or not? I say yeah. But for right now, sure, the prices are very expensive, with the TVs and movies and the player. You don't have to go ahead and buy it right now. You can wait a while. I would say wait by the end of this year. Wait till like October, November, maybe December, around holiday season. You'll see some prices coming down on the Blu-ray 4K players. You'll see some prices getting cut down on 4K Ultra HD movies. So you'll see things improving. So my final thoughts on 4K is that, yeah, it's going to become a new standard and it's here to stay. That's what I think. I think 4K will become the new standard. But you have to, again, you have to educate yourself, guys. The difference between 4K resolution and 1080p resolution, and what does it mean? And once you understand that, once you understand why you need a bigger TV for 4K, then you understand the resolution of it. The only way you'll be able to experience 4K resolution is by a bigger screen. Okay? And I have to laugh at some of these people that play these games in 4K and they're playing it on like little tiny monitors, you know, like 19-inch or 24-inch. You're not going to be able to experience that detail, man, with a 24-inch. The only way you experience 4K, guys, and I'll say this one last time, you can look it up on Google. The only way you experience 4K is by having a bigger TV, like 60 to 65 inch, preferably 70 inch if you can break the bank. But 65 will get the job done to fill up all the details. Okay, so now I mentioned a couple of YouTube channels. Review Tech USA had this one guy bashing the Blu-ray movies, and he was saying how the Blu-ray 4K movies, there's some scenes are shot in 2K and some scenes are shot in 4K. So when they release a movie, it's not going to look as good. Look, this guy, it's talking about tiny little details, technical tiny little details that really you're not going to even notice when you're watching a 4K movie. All right? That movie is going to be encoded on 4K native resolution, and it's going to be filling up all the details. So it's going to look 4K. You're not going to notice the difference between the scenes. Okay, so this guy was just talking a bunch of, technical gibberish. I'm not saying that he's not right about some of the things, but what he's talking about, it's not going to affect 4K Blu-ray movies, okay? It's not going to affect them at all. You're still going to have that constant 4K 60 frames per second resolution on your TV, okay? So that's why that guy from Review Tech USA, Yerrick or whatever his name was, he was talking a bunch of gibberish, technical gibberish, trying to tell people that why shouldn't they buy Blu-ray 4K and all this other nonsense. However, my friend Joe from 1316 Killer channel, I agree with him, but you also have to educate yourself, guys. Like he said, you have to educate yourself. You have to understand the difference between 1080p and 4K. He has a big TV. He has a 65-inch Samsung UHD. Why? Because he needs that big canvas of a screen to fill up all the details. That detail has to be put on a bigger screen. When you go see a movie in a movie theater, why do you think that screen is so goddamn big? Well, yeah, so more people can see it, but it's also to get that detail and clarity. The bigger the screen, the more detail you can put out. Okay? Like IMAX. The bigger the screen, the more detail you can put out. So it's the same thing with 4K. The bigger the screen, the more detail you can put. So people need to educate themselves. And I'm surprised that some people don't do that with all this access of information on the internet. Anybody can educate themselves, honestly. It's not that hard. So anyway, it's been about 18 minutes, me rambling and bambling. I just wanted to kind of put my 2 cents on there, give my opinions. And like I said, this is just my opinion. And I firmly believe this YouTube video will have a life on its own, even after I pass away. So you guys can come back to this video 10 years from now, 5 years from now, if it still exists, and you can say, guess what? This guy Eden, he was right. 4K did become a standard. Now all our channels are 4K, all our Blu-ray movies are 4K, everything's 4K. Now we got 1 gigabyte internet connection. And do you know how I know that it will be that way? Because technology advances, evolves, whether you like it or not. With or without you, technology always keeps advancing. Okay? It's like a wheel that keeps turning and never stops. So anyway, it's been 20 minutes of me rambling and bambling, and I hope you guys find this interesting and resourceful. My opinion is, yeah, go ahead, buy the 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays if you have the money. If you don't, you can still wait a while and then get it down the road, 8 months from now or a year from now or whenever the hell is suitable for you and your income. You know what I mean? But 4K's here and it's here to stay, and that's that. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.